Hello neighbor, this is Curt with etrailer, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Gen-Y Hitch Running Boards and see how they fit and see how they install on our 2025 GMC Sierra 1500. Now if after watching this video you decide that these are the running boards for you and you get them and you install them, please share what you think about them in the comments below. We would love to share your experience with our other neighbors so they can make the best decision for themselves. Now, a set of running boards is an excellent way to take care of that large step that you got to take to get into trucks and SUVs with a high ground clearance. And that's really what we have here with our Sierra 1500. There's almost a 23-inch step to get into the vehicle without having running boards on it. So being able to cut that in half is going to help you or anybody else in your family. Maybe you have kids getting in and out of the truck, or any elderly or seniors like grandparents getting in and out of the truck as well. This is going to be a great way to make sure that everybody can do that safely. Now, this is a 6.5-inch wide step with a 400-pound weight capacity, so it's going to be very, very durable. It's going to be a powder-coated heavy-duty steel, so it's going to be very corrosion resistant as well. It's graded, which means really any kind of debris or anything like that coming off of your boots or your shoes are just going to kind of scrape off and fall right through. So this is an excellent running board for anybody that uses their truck on a job site or just spends a lot of time outdoors in general. Being graded like this, it also has these ridges. I mentioned it being a good boot scrape, and this is a great way to make sure that your shoes and your boots are clean before getting into the vehicle. Okay, so let's take a few measurements and just see how much this is going to help us out. Now, we are obviously going to get a reduction in ground clearance with these on, but you're still going to end up with a ground clearance of slightly over 11 inches, just a hair over. So that should be still pretty good for you and your truck. Now, I had mentioned that we got about a 23-inch step up to get from the ground into the cab itself. This is going to reduce that pretty much by half. This is going to be a 12-inch step going into an 11-inch step to get into the vehicle. So again, I just think that's a safer way getting in and out, whether it's you, some kids, some seniors, whatever it might be. It's important to do that safely, and the grip and the boot scrape on this is going to allow you to do that. Now, installation on this is pretty easy and straightforward. It is something, because of the ground clearance that we have, that you could probably do in your garage or driveway. However, one important note is that Gen-Y does not provide paper instructions with these running boards. What you're going to need to do is go on their website and look them up. So we're going to walk you through everything that you need to do. Just follow along and we'll show you exactly how we got these on our truck. So the first step of our installation is going to be to identify the proper brackets for which side of the vehicle. We'll be showing you how to install the passenger side in this video. However, the driver's side is just going to be simply the mirror opposite. Now, to identify which brackets go on which side, the tabs on the brackets should be facing the front of the truck. So the set of brackets like this, where all these tabs are facing forward, we've got it for the correct side for the passenger. Now, there are going to be 6 different mounting locations underneath the Sierra. However, there are 4 brackets, so there's going to be a couple of them we're not using. Just to point out kind of where they are, we've already got our first 2 brackets set. So there is a mounting point here, a second one here. There's a third one right behind it that we're going to leave alone. There'll be a 4th one right here that we're going to use, a 5th one that we're going to leave alone, and we're going to be using the 6th one that's all the way to the back. So they do have trim plugs in them. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a small flathead, because it can be kind of hard to work under those corners when they haven't been used before, and a trim tool also to help just pry those out. And what I'll be putting the bracket up with is going to be, each bracket will take 2 of these sets, and the set includes your M8 bolt, lock washer, and flat washer. Now I'm going to grab my 13mm socket and I'm going to get these nice and snug. And this is the same process on all of our brackets on both the driver and the passenger side. So with our brackets on and tightened up, we can go ahead and lay our running board down on the brackets and get that lined up. So one of the things that you need to do first, though, is determine that you have the right running board on the correct side of the vehicle. You're going to notice that at the end of each running board, you're going to have an end that just cuts off flat, and you're going to have an end that's kind of mitered at an angle. That mitered end is the end that needs to go toward the front of the vehicle. The next thing you need to do once you have that kind of laid up on here and in place is you're going to take some of these U-shaped brackets. The higher end here is going to go on the vehicle side, and the shorter end is going to be on the running board side. And what you're essentially going to do is just slide this down into these grates. Now, in order to get this lined up correctly lengthwise, I kind of like having it kind of toward the front almost as much as I can. That's going to be the place where it gets really the most use, whether it's driver or passenger. And even when you do that, it still leaves plenty in the back for the second row. So what it is after you get it lined up, I've got it lined up so that the very last one of these squares has a bracket in it all the way at the end. That puts in the front about the third square back. So what I'm going to do is just drop this into place here, compress it down as much as I can, and then I'm going to be taking one of our 1/2-inch bolts along with the corresponding nut, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of just get that started threaded. Now, the slots in the brackets on the vehicle and the slots in this bracket that I just put in to the running board itself are slotted, so it does leave you a little bit of maneuverability. You could bring it in a little bit, and you could switch the brackets on different squares to move it lengthwise. The way that I've got it set up is, when I have running boards on my vehicle, I like to use them. So I position this to be as far out as possible away from the vehicle. And now that I've got that in place, I'm going to just anchor it down and tighten it. I am going to check before final tightening on each bracket to make sure that it's pulled all the way out. That way I make sure that the whole thing is lined up even. But I'm going to take my 1/2-inch wrench and my 1/2-inch socket and get it tightened down into place. So everything's lined up. We got our boards exactly where we want it. All of our bolts are snug. So now what we're going to do is grab our torque wrench and we're going to torque each bolt to spec. Now pay attention to the instructions because each bolt size has a different torque spec. So that's really it for the installation. Pretty simple, pretty easy to do in a driveway or a garage, as I mentioned. But if it does seem like this is still a little bit more than you want to tackle, go ahead and use our dealer locator on our website. That's going to provide you with local installers that work with us to help you get these onto your truck. So with that being said, these are an excellent choice for anybody, especially if you're doing a lot outdoors or at a job site, to go on your 2025 GMC Sierra 1500. I'm Curt with eTrailer. Thanks for stopping by.